Hi there. So this is a presentation about using QLab with Streamyard. We're going to do this by using Loopback, and these are all macOS softwares. So on this video, you'll see a list of timestamps in the description and hopefully chapter markers, as well as on screen here, but it won't be in the PDF that's downloadable in the description because I'll have to edit this and find out where it stops and where it starts. So this presentation is meant to be used for Vania College Productions, but it can be used elsewhere if it helps you. It's intended for macOS because QLab and Loopback are both macOS softwares. If you want to do something similar with Windows or Linux, then there are other softwares out there. This right here is a QR code for the BCP website if you're interested. It's valid as of February 14th, 2022. So the first software we'll need is QLab, and here's the installation link. QLab is the audio playing software, kind of like your soundboard. You can set up a list of cues and have it run automatically, and you can have this set up by just pressing go each time, kind of like a cue list. The second software we'll need is Loopback. That routes the audio output from QLab into a virtual source, which we'll set Streamyard to. So think of it like connecting two pipes together. So this is what QLab more or less will look like after you install it. What you want to do after installing it is go and press New Workspace. Now, the way you want to save your workspace after it's open is in this file structure, because when you have audio files that move and that are already in the project folder, it won't work afterwards because the path has changed. So what I recommend doing is having your show folder and a folder called source files or something similar, and have all your audio files there, and then after it's in that folder, put it into your QLab project folder, because it doesn't copy it into your project, it just remembers where the file is. So this is what a blank project looks like, or a workspace. In this area is the main area we're going to be talking about today, but this area is also important. So this area right here is the audio list. So this is where you'll see the list of cues, because not everything will be an audio track, as we'll see later. This section right here is going to be specifications about specific cues. So if something is selected, then we'll see options here. So this is what QLab looks like after a few audio files have been added. It will run in the order they appear. So first it will be Radio Jazz 1, then Chair Slide, then Knock. If you have cue numbers relating to your script or something like that, you can also change these numbers if you have to add something in between. Like you can add decimals and it won't change anything. So if I add a sound in the middle and label it 1.1, it won't renumber 2 and 3. This section right here is I'm just gonna call it like the specifications tab. So we have the basics tab where we can add notes. So if we add a note here or here, it wouldn't matter, it will show up in the same place. And it's only for this specific cue. So if I'm on Chair Slide 1, and these notes won't be the same. It will be the note for Chair Slide, which will ideally be nothing by default. So this is what it looks like after you add a note. I only typed it in this area right here, but as you can see, it showed in this area. This is the time and loops tab. So it's just going from basics to right over here. The only thing that we care about really is this play count. So you can have a sound loop a few times. So if you have background music, you can have it loop if you don't know how long actors are going to need it for. Or you can have it loop infinitely and then add a stop later. And we're going to see how to do that in a few minutes. When you're playing sounds, you need to have it sent to the right audio source. So right now it's set to external headphones, but that may not be the case because we're going to have a virtual audio in Loopback. So when all your sounds are ready, or even before, you can just select all of them and change it to the correct source. So you can do that by pressing Ctrl A, which is what it looks like here, And as you can see, it says mixed because there might be different ones. Then you can just select on your drop-down menu the correct source. So this is how you add a stop. So it may look a bit different, but I'm going to walk you through this. So you can press this button right here, and then it will appear right after what is selected. So if as you can see, Radio Jazz is still selected, it will appear right after. But if you want something to happen in between, so say Radio Jazz is background music and you want a chair slide to happen while it's still playing, you can move this stop between chair slide and knock. And this is what is happening here. When the screenshot was taken, I was dragging it, so that's not what it's actually going to look like. It will look more simpler. But when you do press stop, add the stop cue, it stops whatever track is selected, so make sure you have that correct one selected. So when you're playing this cue, you can have it auto continue. So that means after it's finished, you can play the next one. That helps you because you don't always have to press go for every cue there is. Say you have a chair slide right after a knock. If it was 4 and 5, I could set Q4, which is the chair slide, to auto continue, and then that will play the next one automatically. You could also do auto follow on Q5 and have Q4 as it is, because it would do the same thing. So if I pressed auto continue on Q1, that means it would play all of 6 minutes and 50 seconds and then the chair slide automatically. But since we have the stop here, we probably want the chair slide to happen during the cue, during this Radio Jazz. So what I could do is I could press go twice. On the first time, it will start playing the Radio Jazz. The second time, it can play the chair slide whenever I press go while the Radio Jazz is still playing. Then when I press it the third time, it'll stop the Radio Jazz. So that's what this looks like right here after I added the continue. So in this case, if you want the chair slide to stop the jazz right after, that's what happens. In Loopback, this is what it looks like after it's installed. There's going to be less here because these are my own sources, but this is mainly what you're worrying about. So what you're going to do is you're going to get rid of this pass-through item here, because we don't really need that. And then you're gonna go to this plus sign, and then you'll get this drop down here. So you're gonna wanna select application, and then you'll get a menu of the installed applications. You wanna select QLab, because you're grabbing the sound from QLab. You also wanna add the MacBook Pro microphone, because while you have this active, you can't use a separate microphone as well. It all has to be one audio source. So if you want to talk to someone while you're doing a rehearsal, then you'll need this too. And we can also turn each individual one on and off, so you won't have to worry about talking during an actual performance. So that's what that looks like after you add those two sources. You also want to add external headphones or speaker as a monitor. A monitor is basically a secondary speaker hearing what you're playing to the actual speaker. So the actual speaker is what we'll set in Streamyard later on, but you'll hear the exact same thing in the headphones. So you can do that here by pressing this plus sign, and then you'll see in options including speaker and headphones. If your headphones are not connected, while you press it, it'll give you a warning saying source not connected. So what we did in Loopback is basically this diagram. We're sending QLab and the microphone to Loopback, and then we're setting Streamyard as the microphone input that we set here. Our headphones are the monitor, as you can see here, and these two applications are right here. And as you can see, you can turn this off and on, and you can also mute this while capturing. That means when you play a cue in QLab, you won't hear it in your own headphones, but the Streamyard will. So I recommend leaving this off so that you can hear it, so you know if it's delayed or not, and muting your own microphone, because then you're going to hear yourself talk. So that's what we just did right here. In Streamyard, if a broadcast isn't created already, you're going to press new broadcast on the broadcast menu on new broadcast, and then you're going to make sure you set it to unlisted, or else it's going to be public on your YouTube channel if that's where you're streaming it to. and we're gonna give it some name. So I named it Hussein's Audio Tutorial Test Stream. But unlisted is the main important fact that you have to do. After you do that, it'll ask you to join, and this is the screen it gives you. So obviously you're gonna have to name yourself. This is kind of like your name in a Zoom meeting. Camera on, microphone on, whatever. If you're just running audio cues and you're not in the show, you should make sure your camera is off, because when you're in the broadcast, you can either be audio only or audio and camera, or camera only, but we're not worrying about that. But if your camera is off, they'll just hear your audio, but you won't be on camera, which is what you want. So after that, we're gonna go here to cam and mic in the settings icon to make sure the correct one is picked, and then that brings up this menu. So on mic, we're gonna select this drop down right here, and you're gonna select the audio source that's labeled here. So I name mine tutorial, which is right here, and that's what will show up in Streamyard on the microphone list. So it will be tutorial here, or whatever you name it. And as you can see, that's what I'm doing. Now, you're in the broadcast. This is the admin version of what you see. So if you're not the account holder, don't worry if you don't see the same thing. Just make sure that your camera is off and the microphone is on, and then the host will put you in when they need to. As you can see, I'm not in the actual stream because this is what the audience would see. The colors will be different varying on what is actually set in the settings set by the admin. So after I press add to stream, you can see I'm added because I'm highlighted in blue, and it says you're in the stream with audio only. That means my camera's off, but they can hear the audio. If my camera was turned on right now by pressing this button, then they'll see my face during the show, which is not what you want. But you do want to be unmuted. If you're worried about talking during the show, you can just go back to Loopback, because you'll need to have this open during the entire show, and you can turn off and on the microphone. So when this is off, that means they can't hear you talk, but when it's on, they will hear you talk because it's passed in with QLab. So when you are ready to perform or do a dress rehearsal and the directors need to see the stream, you can go, and of course this is for the admins, you can go here to the profile picture icon, and you can press view on YouTube. Now that will take you to the YouTube link, and it will probably say like stream not started, or give a timer if it's set a release date or something, until you press the go live button. And then it will take about 20 seconds, which is normally about how long a YouTube live stream takes to start and allow interaction with. And that is basically it. So if you have any questions, you can contact me at this webpage. If you're not VCP and you still have questions about QLab or Streamyard or Loopback, then you can still email me. But yeah.